world that has gone through a manner of changes, some for the better, others, for the worst, we're still clutching onto all the wrong things in our life. Our mobile devices, and what they offer us. An endless well of triggering sensory overload. A high on unpalatable steamroller of news, rumours, gossip, smears, truths, half-truths, non-truths, lies, deception, fake news, politics, and overall celeb infatuation. Did we just survive a pandemic? We should be left thinking. Did we just survive another season of Too Hot to Handle? We are living in a world where World War III looks imminent, all thanks to Putin. Tin. We are still concerned about standing out, being party to a conversation of discussion that as humans, do we really need to feed into and emote on the behalf of? The only thing I myself and many, many millions of others seem attracted to is all centred online. A world and new culture built of memes, gifs, and for me, pressing towards to try and keep things funny before a mad online Karen.
Look how close you parked.
Okay, I'll move my car.
No, you're not moving your car. We're staying right here till the cops come.
No, I'm gonna move my car.
No,
now.
you're staying right here. Stop filming me. Hey.
What are you doing?
He just bit me.
No, he didn't.
Help! Police! I'm gonna call the police. Help!
What are you?
Okay? No! I want the camera out!
Tells us off for being insensitive. Others merely use the web to get the juicy updates on their favourite things. This is where
pop culture
comes in. People have a lot to say, and in many ways it is their right to say it. Sadly, it is hard to ignore the louder, more angry, more unjust types. The Karen types.
No, give me the film and the camera! I ran it with you photographers! You're a photographer, give me the card! Give me your card! You're here, Dairy Queen, get out! You did before! The film! I want the camera! You're one, trespassing! Two, illegal photograph! Three, you're not allowed! Four, you would do that! No, you're not! You're doing it again until I do something to stop it! You want to give me your name so you can explain your story? That's what I want!
The online trolls, who in real life wouldn't have the balls to attack you, but they have the gumption to go for you online. And why? Because it's all based upon one's take and opinion. But if you met these people in real life, they would end up greeting you as awkwardly as Tommy Wiseau does in The Room.
Oh, hi, Mark.
After a one-sided heated exchange. I do not blame people for either blowing up, losing their shit, or staring off into the distance, like Amber Heard at her trial. Where she is obviously thinking, what have I done? Why am I bothering with this? Yes, I'm thinking that as well, Amber. I see you. I am one of them who goes to his phone, is constantly glued to it. But my loves are focused solely upon the film industry. I love films. I also love celebrity gossip and the whole weird inverse realm known as Hollywood. And specifically the film industry as a whole, everything. The whole tree, the branches, even that damp sodden leaf that no one else would pay attention to. I'll be going up to it with magnifying glass, perhaps even secreting it and later stroking it and going... So, I am as guilty as anyone else, and could also be said to be one of you lot! You lot! Glued to your phones on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I am part of this world. And part of the world where COVID has changed the way of our lives forever. And it has taken so many. And sadly, it hasn't taken those that are deserving of such a horrid thing. But still, we as human beings still cannot seem to prioritise certain things, events and scenarios and situations. We misplace our emotions, which are heightened. Well, what we know as the norm, which is
pop culture
and
the media
and its even more feisty sibling,
social media.
We're attracted to it, and it's a conduit to emote, to express, which is okay by me. You know, movies and discussions. It isn't a dying art form, especially those who want to go online and on forums and debate films. Though, within those forums and comment sections and Facebook posts and Twitter threads, the Karens on the internet sometimes impose on our world of nerdom. And make it hard to appreciate and enjoy it. So,
Some men aren't looking for anything logical. They can't be bought, bullied, reasoned, or negotiated with. Some men just want to watch the world burn.
we can't help but throw our 2 cents worth in. Or, if you're British, our £1 worth. Yeah, it makes a far nicer clonk noise. We can't help but misplace our emotions into something as unaffecting to our lives as, of all things, how much a film has made at the box office. Our opinions on the actors, the making of it, the cultural relevancy of it. Unless you're a studio head or actor with a certain contract with certain minute clauses, why should we as a general audience be worrying? It's nothing to do with us. What do we care? Well, if you're part of the film discussion and that realm of film criticism, which everyone who has an opinion feels they are, you know, with a beret and an invisible moustache, film critic. I'm not. But isn't it rather interesting and telling by the numbers and how far we've come recently in the COVID world and all of its restrictions and all of the alterations and changes to our normal day lives? And you know, in comparison to the big money earners far over this COVID affected period, these big behemoth event films, they are, well, failing. And look, my £1 worth is going to be about the box office and the sure signs of how people are no longer giving 2 flaming fucks about all these franchise films and sequels and requels and all these properties and IPs and such and sundry. So, I have to make this clear. I am no box office analyst or somebody of any acclaim and position. I just look over the numbers, and if something looks skew-if, I will devise my own take. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to look at the failings of big blockbusters and pre-configure, the world is coming back together. More people are going to the cinema. I saw more people in The Northman than I did in Morbius. And even though the intake of those movies at the end of the day proves nothing from an analyst perspective, in a more ethic-based sense, it does. There's a lot that can be said. A lot. And I am not one who thinks he knows everything. And I'm definitely not as annoying as other YouTubers. So, please be easy on me. This argument can always have a counter-argument. Well, will they Spider-Man? No way home. Bear with. I will get into Spider-Man No Way Home. Why did the new Spider-Man get bums in seats? Well, you don't need to be a scientist.
I'm something of a scientist myself.
With power issues, or another gee-whiz mechanically limbed doctor with an infatuation with holding the sun in the palm of his hand.
The power of the sun in the palm of my hand.
Tell you, we all flocked to see Tom Holland's third Spidey film.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man. Is he strong? Listen, bud, he's got radioactive blood. Can he swing from a thread? Take a look overhead. Hey there goes the Spider-Man. Spider-Man, Spider-Man, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, welcome back.
No matter our opinions on the previous movies or our affinity for a certain actor, whether Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, or currently Tom Holland, we all swarmed to see Spider-Man No Way Home. There was also the possibility, and the reality is, thanks to the leaks and the leakers, of a team-up. A team-up unlike we have ever seen. Because we thought, will they do it? Will they get them together? And as much as the leaks and leakers put it out, and loads of people were throwing in their 10 cents worth, it's gone up to 10 cents now instead of 2 cents worth. I was still throwing my pounds worth. These 3 alone, whether we all initially disliked this Spider-Man, that Spider-Man, this version of Peter Parker, that version of Peter Parker, we kind of needed this film. A film that, in so many senses of the word, was elevated above the likes of Eternals. I walked out of that one with my partner. Shang-Chi, my partner fell asleep whilst watching it. Didn't like it. And Black Widow. Did we need that film? I think Scarlett Johansson was more concerned about that film existing than anyone else, considering that the multiverse is being hinted upon, often alluded to, and then randomly pulled from under our feet, thanks to mocap-suited Mysterio. Thanks, bro. We didn't know whether Marvel was going to take that plunge. Was Sony going to start doing that? Sony has slowly and incrementally been creating their own world. Their own.
Oh yeah.
Sub-Spider-Man realm.
Oh no.
Whether it's worked or not for you personally, I like the Venom stuff. Not so much the first. The second one I could get behind. Though it is lacking of the carnage that was necessary, it was still a fun, almost throwback to those 90s superhero movies that we all loved, like Blade, X-Men. I'm not a fan of X-Men actually. Let's scrap that one. They finally took the plunge and decided that Phase 4 of Marvel is going in that direction. And they made the best use of it. Yes, it's very, very nostalgia baity. It's very easy. It's actually very lazy writing. Half the script and throwbacks and callbacks and supposed character developments are all ripped from previous Spider-Man films. Even the Spider-Man films that we hated, critics and fans and general audiences alike. It's a very interesting conversation. There was never going to be a point where Spider-Man No Way Home was going to be a failure. There was no way. No way.
No.
But there was always a chance of Morbius failing. But Morbius, alongside even Venom 2, garnered, it got over 500 million at the box office. It's still 300 million less than before. Also, I think people's opinions and tastes had staled, considering that midway credit sequence in No Way Home, where they just served up a dish so delicious. Mwah, the potential of bringing in Venom into the MCU. And then just stripped from us. Again, rug pulled very fast from beneath our feet. Where we crack our head. Oh, but we left a bit of goo and gunk. Signs are there that something is amiss between Sony and Marvel. With intentions, with clauses, with contracts. But Morbius, they lied to us in the trailer about its connective tissue. Outside of the movie being confused which universe it has its loyalties with is by the by. Let us take Morbius for example, where a wide range of discussion can be opened. More like open up a can of worms, if you ask me, around its purpose, its lacklustre self, and its reasoning behind outright promising us a film we didn't end up getting. That, or we as a general audience, couldn't quite piece together as to the final decisions made. You are left scratching your head going, in relation to the final cut. And the more focus should be on Leto, as well as, he's not a leading man. Maybe as a front for a band, but his calibre of performances don't suit leading man status. And there is a lot of divvying up between Leto's performance, whether, it is a note of contention whereby we are either one end of the spectrum, as to how Leto is joyless, hollow, bored, and ill-fitting from the role, almost concretising that he should remain in the method actor sector, which he basically has built his own path towards, and concretised as a known thing. Method actors beyond limit, where, a lunatic sends out used condoms to get into the character. Or you could be in the other end, where we actually summarise and tailor this notion that he is a method actor to fit the rationale behind a very thankless role and a very thankless performance. Maybe he is too method. Maybe he has taken the role far too literally and is representing what he feels is a rather realistic depiction of a man who has partially a soul, but is a soul-starved living vampire. Look, though the lead Leto would usually suit in the echelons of Hollywood, looks-wise, and you would assume he would be a top candidate for taking a star lead role in a big Hollywood blockbuster, Leto has never done this. And as to why now, maybe he wanted to be part of the bigger universe. But as a starting block, as a film, it hasn't gone well for him. Considering the film's crap and his performance is awful, no one's really willing on for Morbius to come into contact with Spider-Man. Also, why has no one mentioned that Aaron Taylor has been cast as Kraven the Hunter? And even though this Spider-Man world is kind of partially submerged in the MCU, Won't people scratch their heads? Or are they just going to wipe their hands and go, multiverse shit? Oh. Leto prefers to be broader in his performances.
Never confuse shit with chocolato. They may look the same, but the taste very different. Trust me, I know.
Bring the car around. We're going for a drive.
If you weren't so crazy.
More comfortable hidden beneath prosthetics, fat suits, contact lenses, anything that will make him unrecognisable, so he can fully inhabit that character instead of being the Jared Leto. Or he gives a performance so broad and loud it hides Leto himself, the musician and the alien beauty that we can't deny that he is. Morbius hasn't reached the box office numbers, not because of aforementioned statements, but because outside of this third, maybe sixth-rate Marvel legend, we are bored, fatigued by this push for superhero verses, for sequels, requels. We were offered quite a long period of undecided fates for the future of cinema, but it also offered time, screen space for smaller films. Though they didn't make a dent at the box office, it allowed audiences to realise, there's something else beyond just these big, gargantuan blockbuster films. These Marvel, Wizarding World, DCEU, Blumhouse production movies. I have less of an issue with Blumhouse productions, but that's a whole other conversation, which I'm not going into. I may be coming across like a mid-career album from the Sparks, but bear with me, the repetition is for a purpose, that or I'm just a very bad editor. After about 18 minutes of whiling away the times, talking about the current films that are dominating cinemas, but not making a dent in the box office, my outward statement, my final statement is this. The box office is currently representing not fallout from COVID, but, if anything, the argument about No Way Home proves that. We were offered a break, thanks to COVID. A break from what is the norm. Away from the Hollywood gravy train. Away from products. Not films, they are products. Pushing merchandise. Pushing ticket sales. It's not about storytelling or the art. It's hollow, it's lifeless, and as much as I have a propensity for comic book films, I am feeling it now. Sluggish, fatigued, almost probably worse than having COVID at this current time. It's about properties and IPs. I am one as guilty as anyone else feed into that side of things. I enjoy my superhero films. I was one of the geezers out there going, the Snyder Cut exists. Though there are, again, a broad spectrum of Snyder Cut fans. I'm not in that range of, becoming a incel in the making mass shooter nutter who loses his shit over whether a film is going to get made or not. But I felt the injustice and I was happy Snyder got his movie out. We're living in a world where this is all we're being served. We have no chance of getting away from it. I mean, how can't we? If that is all that is being served, we go along by mere security afforded by the monotony which is based firmly in complacency. We are not going to the cinemas because of COVID out of fear, not any longer, because other box office numbers represent and prove this to be a very weak fact. It's because we were offered a break from the norm, where a gluttonous amount of superhero-based works or IPs were dominating and are dominating our screens. Not just the screens, but our collective viewer consciousness. Films that are mere cookie-cutter products, produced like sausages, one after another, either gleaming in that Marvel glow, or not so much in that Marvel glow, as is the case with the Wizarding World. The box office for the new Fantastic Beasts is telling us something. We do not want any more of this cash cow milk teat abuse. The slurry we have crammed down our gullet has been halted, and after a long time without it, it's like a baby eating baby food. And then once they get a taste of something concretised food and you offer them the slurry again, of course they're going to pull a face and look at you as if to say, how the fuck dare you feed me this? How dare you? I've been given a chance to taste something so sublime and you think I'm a fucking fool to go back to that? Not that a child would have such a flowery vocabulary as I have. With no space on screens for smaller works due to these films, people aren't exposed to them. Usually, these types of movies get a broader range in the latter half of their world, or unless it is Oscar baity material, which is wanky, to be honest, very wanky and ill-intended. Loads of filmmakers go out now with the intention of making an Oscar baity film instead of just making a good piece of cinema, and then people giving it its due diligence, realising how brilliant it is. Fact being, one of the greatest film scores was attached to an IP, a sequel to a franchise that loads of people disliked or loathed, have grown to love more, have grown to loathe more, which was The Matrix Resurrections. That film score deserved more recognition for not just itself as a product, but as a continuation and evolution of what these type of films can mean, not just to the creators, but to the audience. A lot of people were disappointed by it because it wasn't what they'd expected. Lana Wachowski had completely, and I keep saying this, it's a theme of it, pulled the rug from out beneath us. And though we felt a little concussed, we kind of realised that was for the betterment. It dislodged something. It also allowed smaller works to get recognised. Me and Laura, when the cinemas reopened midway through 2020, saw so many small British independent movies that we would never have gone to see. Maybe, if we came across it on streaming, smaller movies that are given more notoriety after the fact, though they didn't make any box office numbers, jig, wiggle, and, excitably go up, it still needs to be maintained and recognised. We are not given time to decide where our priorities for such works lie, and which movie deserves to be on our to-watch list, and what needs to be watched on the big screen. But COVID offered a few outliers, and gave the general audience the room to decide and breathe, to make that decision themselves. People like going to the cinema to escape. And then, when those movies themselves are such bad products and they can't even escape from it, they will go to the smaller productions, and they will be offered what cinema offers. I've made Morbius as a real heady example, but that is because it is the most recent film, alongside Fantastic Beasts, which hits upon something very specific, very, very specific. And that is my end statement. We are not going to the cinema because these films are no longer interesting. Those who go for pure escapism are realising, it's all the same shit. So, what do you think? I'd be very interested in knowing. Thank you for listening, watching. It's taken me a whole fucking day to record this, edit it, but it was worth it because I've got a lot of shit off my chest. It started as a mere rattle and rave on my notepad on my phone, then it was going to be a Facebook post, and I thought, you know what, this deserves to be voiced and tailored into its own weird mini product itself, one that I will never monetize from because we get hardly any views. But it's more for myself. But remember, share this, like it, comment, ultimately subscribe. Anyway, that's me done. I'm gonna go take a nice big old dump. I would say on a copy of all the films aforementioned, but they're not out in physical release yet.
Never confuse shit with cioccolato.